Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this is our May 2020 Astrology and Healing newsletter. It's a very special offering. There are, I think, 15 supporting blogs and videos, and these are listed with their links at the end of the blog accompanying this video. And they're also listed with links on the wonderful 2020 May webpage on my Star Wheel Astrology website, where indeed you can see all the charts for May 2020 and the ephemeris in both Western and Vedic astrology on that 2020 May webpage. And the link for that's in the blog post. Okay. The blog starts off with some personal news about how Maggie and I have been getting on during the coronavirus lockdown here in the beautiful west of Ireland, and I've even included a few pictures of the beach, which is about 15 minutes walk from our home. And Maggie's been planting flowers. I've been building an extension at the back of the house, so you might like to read about that. And we even brought ourselves to visit a shrine just above the beach to a 6th century hermit. And just below the shrine's a beautiful waterfall. And Maggie tested the earth energies there, and they were extremely high, sort of off the scale, using the Lecker antenna. So off the scale in its range of spiritual and sacred energies. Interesting. So, starting with the astrology. Well, first of all, obviously relevant is the coronavirus pandemic. And basically I want to say that I feel the prime indicator is Rahu's transit through Ardra Nakshatra, which is ruled by Rahu and has a very heavy energy, to be honest, and often is associated with, pretty nasty events. For example, the Twin Towers. But that ends in the course of this month. But of course, that does not mean that the coronavirus ends on May the 20th, when Rahu goes from Ardra Nakshatra to Mrigashira Nakshatra in the Vedic sign of Gemini. I believe that there'll be a recurrence peaking around the very end of September. I believe virus presence will continue into 2021. The fact is that the Irish government was extremely strict and extremely quick in bringing in lockdown. I think that saved many people from coronavirus illness, many people from death due to coronavirus. Certainly in Japan, where they were slow to bring in restrictions and too rapid, for example, to have schools returning to attendance, there was a second wave. So that won't be the case here, but of course there's massive economic consequences. So Maggie, who works some of the time doing face-to-face healings at Sligo Wellness Healing Centre, hasn't been allowed to do any healings locally since the beginning of March, and the Irish government just announced that healing centres will be kept closed for further 11 weeks. So that's just our particular example, but we are well aware of tragic bankruptcies that are coming in of quite beautiful little businesses around here. Very sad indeed. And I discuss in the newsletter what the sort of spiritual meaning is for coronavirus lockdown. I would say I myself have felt much better for it. I feel it's made me connect to my energies and my inspiration better. I feel it's brought me more in contact with my life purpose. And I believe that can be true for humanity, that maybe is a needed message from this coronavirus pandemic. But I would say that I don't think this is the last pandemic. I think there are too many features of current human existence which will promote at least one more, several more maybe. Loads of global travel, very bad diet, overcrowding in cities. And certainly it's brought home to me the fact of, the need for a measure of self-sufficiency. So we actually live on what was a little tiny farm here in the remote west of Ireland until about the year 2000. And so I'm very much got in mind keeping the possibility of sustainable living here and anchoring more of our work here, as well, of course, as the massive online stuff that Maggie and I do. And what I have been saying for months is that I believe the Pluto-Saturn conjunction is, Saturn is a container, Pluto is huge divine transformational power. So it's like the Holy Grail containing divine energy. And I think the highest meaning of Saturn-Pluto is for each of us to identify and focus on our proper course forward in life. It is a very controlling, focusing energy, Saturn-Pluto conjunction, but it's here and it's supremely powerful. It's with Jupiter, which magnifies Pluto, and vice versa. The three of them haven't been here since 1284. So this isn't a small time in humanity, it's a big time. We thought 2019 was bad, was problematic, was tense, what with the Saturn-Ketu conjunction. But clearly 2020 is a time of very considerable social change and social reset. It is, if we can connect to it, a time for the raising of our consciousness, the raising of human consciousness, a reset in consciousness. And obviously some people will embrace that and others will not, because of course at the same time we have the divisiveness of the Kalsarpa Yoga energy at this time, all planets to one side of the nodal axis. And let's be straightforward about this. Just because one planet is the other side of the nodal axis, that does not mean Kalsarpa Yoga has ceased to exist. It actually means that planet is alone and unsupported. And so the Kalsarpa situation is made that much worse. So, let's not be too formulaic about the nature of Kalsarpa Yoga. And when the moon's alone and unsupported on the other side of the nodal axis from all the other planets, that affects the stability of our mind. And I did do a supporting post saying that at the time of this Kalsarpa Yoga, we have two major world leaders, Donald Trump and Boris Johnson, who have Kalsarpa Yoga in the chart, in their birth chart. That's not a coincidence. This world is having to deal with divisive energies. Spiritual enlightenment can come out of that, of course, but the opposite will also come out of it. So now let's turn to the detail of the astrology of May 2020. And as I said, for all these points that I'm going to name, look at the charts on the 2020 May webpage on my Star Wheel Astrology website. Look at the ephemeris for Vedic astrology for May and for Western astrology for May. So I think a very big item is Pluto turns retrograde. Pluto actually turned retrograde on the 26th of April. And I feel myself that it's the Pluto retrograde often means a journey into the abyss, a journey to contact our shadow stuff and the weights and darknesses, pains, wounds, guilts and secrets we carry. It is a time to go into that darkness, into the abyss, to see if we can shed them there so that we can arise lightened, to contact the other side of the Pluto energy, which is like Ketha, the crown chakra. And if we can lighten ourselves, thus so much more open to the light of the divine, and we do offer an online journey, to take you through a journey to the abyss, a journey to meet Pluto first as keeper of the abyss and second as Ketha, the crown chakra. And everyone who's done this absolutely rates it. And just to say that Pluto is a very slow-moving planet. So if Pluto is aspecting a planet in your chart, it's going to go on for 3 years. And in fact, I have Pluto transiting square my Sun on the one hand and my Moon on the other hand. And that runs on for 3 years. But I am glad to feel the energy of empowerment that creates, and glad indeed to develop my empowerment by going into shadow stuff as well. I was born on the full moon, so obviously when a planet aspects the Sun, it also aspects the Moon. So claim your power with this Pluto retrograde period. I'm not saying this lightly. Transform your life with this energy. Face your fears. Grow your spirituality. Speak with your true voice. It's a big transit. On June the 29th, Pluto leaves Vedic Capricorn, where it is now, and retrogrades into Vedic Sagittarius. Pluto will stay in Vedic Sagittarius until the 31st of December this year, and he then returns to Vedic Capricorn, transiting there for many years. You cannot defeat your demons if you are still enjoying their company. This is the time to free ourselves from our demons. Pluto retrograde. But Saturn is retrograde too. From the 11th of May, Saturn's now at 7 degrees Vedic Capricorn. So this is a massive, implacable call, inescapable demand for consolidation of matters in your life. Lord Shani, Saturn, demands discipline, patience, focus, endurance and thoroughness, correct life focus, death of wrong strategies or incorrect focus, news of a death or mind focus on our mortality will happen in this period. And for some people, very definitely, Saturn is experienced in his occult dimension. So check out what house in your Vedic birth chart Capricorn is, the sign where Saturn is now retrograding. That's a key area of life where you'll be called to consolidate. And if we obey Lord Shani's demands, he rewards us with golden reaping of our projects. But do be aware that during this retrograde period, depression and fear will be more around, so we mustn't give in to that. And basically the divine purpose of the fear during a Saturn retrograde period is actually to highlight issues and problems that we need to sort. Easily said. Often very difficult, but essential to do. And thirdly, Jupiter turns retrograde from May the 15th. Now Jupiter's in very poor dignity and strength, being in Vedic Capricorn. I think I included a chart on the 2020 May webpage. I think it's appalling strength dignity, something like 2 Shodasha Varga strength points. And so this means for all of us, blessing, purpose, guru energy are lessened. In earlier blogs, I've made the point that during 2019, in the balance between Jupiter and Saturn, it was Jupiter time. But Saturn has taken over, and Saturn will be dominant for 5 years. We need to be aware of that. And so we need to obey Lord Shani's demands specific to our life. And we must bring in ways of enhancing our connection to Brihaspati, the divine dimension of Jupiter. And I've mentioned that in other posts at this time. You know, for example, one thing you can do is put a picture of divine Jupiter on the wall, light a candle every morning, and be fully embodied in front of it and speak and discuss from the heart with Lord Brihaspati. Embody the Jupiter energy to make up for the weakness in Jupiter energy at this time. So Jupiter turns retrograde on the 15th of May and actually goes back into Vedic Sagittarius, but turns direct on the 13th of September, re-entering Vedic Capricorn on the 20th of November. So these are big retrogrades. And Jupiter, for much of that time, is conjunct Pluto. That is a huge, powerful energy. It can be get rich. It can be a massive overexpansion and rah, rah, rah. It needs to be watched. Have a reading with me. I so often refer to the magnificent statement of planetary combinations in Reinhold Ebertin's Combination of Stellar Influences. That's good. And when you get things like Jupiter-Pluto, it needs to be looked at and how it will manifest in your life. But this isn't all the retrogrades. Venus turns retrograde on the 15th of May. Venus entered into Taurus, but now actually retrogrades on the 15th of May from 27 degrees to 22 Taurus. And this is actually a good thing because there's horrible energies at this time, fraught and frightening, challenging and death-dealing. But at this time, Venus is indeed having this very prolonged transit in Taurus, the sign he rules. And Venus is square Neptune on May the 4th. So the next transit to be aware of is Mars enters Vedic Aquarius. That's on May the 5th. So when Mars was in Capricorn, as he still is, it's his sign of exaltation. I think that energy very much helped my building work. You know, Capricorn is quite technical and building. And because, as I said in the personal note in the blog, I've been doing all this building work, building an extension on the back of our house for Airbnb. And it's done me physically good, and it's satisfying to produce beautiful built stuff. So read about that. But note that on June the 12th, Mars conjuncts Neptune in the heavens, Neptune in Purvabhadra Nakshatra. And so that, you know, for those people who are into intuitive work, will be powerful. Okay, Mercury starts off May, conjunct Uranus. And my God, the inspirational thought I've been blessed with is wonderful. And so there are the details of the Mercury transit in May in the blog post. So on May the 24th, Mercury leaves Taurus and enters Gemini, where he is transiting until August the 1st. Warning, Mercury and Rahu become conjunct at 6 Gemini in Ardra Nakshatra on May the 29th. And Mercury turns retrograde from June the 18th to July the 12th, leaving Gemini to go into Cancer on August the 2nd. Okay, big item here. The nodes change sign. Well, as I've already said, Rahu leaves Ardra. Ardra Nakshatra is ruled by Rahu, and he transits ever backwards, ever retrograde, into Mrigashira Nakshatra on May the 20th. And I do want to point out that this still is not easy, because the final pada of Mrigashira, every nakshatra is divided into 4 padas which have very different energy, and we need to know which pada we have a planet in, which pada of which nakshatra a transit's occurring in. The final pada of Mrigashira is Scorpio pada, so having Rahu transit into that is not going to sort of spread peace, light and gentle living throughout the planets. And Rahu changes sign from Gemini to Taurus on the 23rd of September this year. Okay, let's look at Ketu. Well, Ketu, the south node, has been transiting Mula Nakshatra since the 15th of January. And Ketu leaves Mula and enters Jyesta Nakshatra, entering, therefore, the sign of Vedic Scorpio as well, on the 23rd of September. So we have this long Ketu transit in Mula. And the point is, Mula is ruled by Ketu. Mula Nakshatra is ruled by Ketu. Mula's ruling deity is Niriti, the goddess of death and destruction. This is a very big transit, Ketu through Mula. And, it gets even bigger, in September, when Ketu gets to the start of Mula, crossing into Jyesta Nakshatra and transiting through the Gandanta zone. In effect, the 2 degrees either side of the transition from Vedic Sagittarius to Vedic Scorpio. And Ketu is a sublime and supreme force of destruction. So, this means we have to find the spiritual message in the situations and mindsets, collapses and changes and redefinitions that will occur due to the Ketu transit through Mula, which runs from the 15th of January to the 23rd of September. I've already mentioned